Android finally has a real Find My Phone feature, keeping track of the wild variations in predictions about AI. From the Musk files, can Twitter go back to the way it was? And is cloud lock-in really a thing? All this and more on the Finding Answers to Big and Small Questions editions of Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Android users finally have their own Find My network to locate lost or stolen phones, tablets, earbuds, and other devices, even if they're offline. Google has rolled out its new Find My Device network starting in the US and Canada. It leverages the massive install base of over 1 billion Android devices worldwide to crowdsource Bluetooth location data. Unlike Android's existing Find My Device feature, which requires an internet connection, this new network can pinpoint devices purely via Bluetooth signals, whether they are powered on or off. With a new crowdsourced network of over 1 billion Android devices, Find My Device can help you find your misplaced Android devices and everyday items quickly and securely. The network launch follows reports that Google had delayed it over privacy concerns that the technology could be exploited by trackers like Apple's AirTags to stalk people. Google says its Find My Device network has multi-layered protections like end-to-end encryption to keep location data private and prevent unwanted tracking back to private residences. Initially, only Google's new Pixel 8 and 8 Pro phones can be located even when powered off completely, but the network supports any Android 9 or newer device. Coming in May, it will also allow locating Bluetooth tracker tags from brands like Chipolo and Pebblebee, along with sharing permissions and a Find Nearby button to pinpoint misplaced items right next to you. And there have been mentions that some popular headphone manufacturers may also participate. So after years of waiting for an Android answer to Apple's Find My network, the new Google service aims to make locating lost devices easier and maybe even more secure. Keeping track of the wildly differing predictions on whether AI will lead us to nirvana or destroy us all is tough. Just today in the Wall Street Journal, Japan's largest telecommunications company and the country's biggest newspaper put out a statement that artificial intelligence could cause democracy and social order to collapse. And these types of predictions seem to come out regularly. A group with a site called Pause AI Info has developed a list of what they call P-Doom values, and there are wild swings in the predictions. Roman Yampolsky, an AI safety scientist at the University of Louisville, believes developing superintelligent AI systems carries an effectively guaranteed risk of doom for the human race, and his view stands in stark contrast to other leading AI experts. At a recent summit, Yoshua Bengio, one of the 3 godfathers of AI, estimated a 20% chance that AI could wipe out humanity in the next 20 years. And meanwhile, Jeff Hinton, another groundbreaking AI pioneer, put the odds at around 10%. Even Elon Musk, who has sounded alarms about existential AI risk, said, "I think there's some chance that it will end humanity." Musk says that he probably agrees with Jeff Hinton that the risk is about 10% or 20% or something like that. But he also says that we can avoid catastrophe by never forcing AI systems to be dishonest. Musk says, "Don't force it to lie, even if the truth is unpleasant. It's very important. Don't make AI." Meanwhile, Yampolsky argued pursuing advanced AI is too risky, telling Business Insider that Musk is a bit too conservative and we should abandon the technology entirely, since an uncontrolled superintelligence system would be equally catastrophic no matter who develops it first. If you want to keep track of these predictions and more, and even add your own prediction to the mix, you can do it at Pause AI Info. That's pauseai.info. For those of you old enough to remember the show Dallas, there was a season that was so bad that the writers actually wrote it off as a bad dream. In the first episode of the new season, a character actually awakens from this bad dream, and then they went back to what had made the show successful. It's possible that Elon Musk might have watched that episode and might be trying a similar strategy with X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. Apparently, troubles are mounting for Elon on multiple business fronts. He may have financially harmed his newly acquired social media platform, X. Musk said, "I've probably done more to financially impair the company than to help it. but I certainly do not guide my posts by what is financially beneficial. Musk made the acknowledgement as part of an ongoing defamation lawsuit where he seemed confused about the basic details of the case against him for spreading false conspiracy theories. Given those problems, Musk appears to be shifting focus to attempt to reverse the damage done and hopefully the losses to X. Last fall, there was a report in Variety that X had lost 15% of its worldwide user base since Musk took over, and Musk admitted to the platform having lost about 50% in ad revenue since his takeover. Musk, at the time, exhibited a lot of bravado, at one point telling advertisers to go expletive themselves, but perhaps the financial losses are finally getting through. Because lawsuits and losses at Twitter aren't Musk's only problem. Reportedly, his flagship electric car company Tesla is also struggling with disappointing sales, competition from China and other electric vehicle producers, and some real issues on the launch of the Tesla Cybertruck, an $80,000 vehicle that is taking some real public criticism. Tesla's stock is down over 10% this year amid waning demand, and this has contributed to Musk's own net worth dropping substantially, taking him from the top of the billionaire rankings to about number 4. So Musk may be forced to stem the losses at Twitter, or even, as some suggest, be forced to sell at a huge loss to stem the crises on multiple fronts. Which explains why industry observers say the company is now backtracking on Musk's promised reinvention, instead seeming to revert it back to the old Twitter model, doing things like reinstating verified blue check marks and rehiring trust and safety personnel. Musk himself has said, "I think the strategy as it's unfolding is going back to the basics. The whole thing about making X something dramatically different hasn't really happened." CNN's Oliver Darcy puts this a little more directly, saying Musk's desperation to lure high-profile users back to the platform is what's causing the changes. Can Musk win back advertisers who fled over content moderation concerns? He did bring in Linda Yaccarino as the new Twitter CEO, but he seems to have undermined her efforts to try to turn the company around at every step, which has led some brand experts to doubt that these tactical changes will work as long as Musk keeps generating controversies that make X seem like an unreliable ad partner. And this is a story that caught my eye for a number of reasons. One is, last year I sat with a group of CIOs from a number of companies and heard them complain about increases in cloud charges from hosting and software, unexpected charges that were anywhere from 6 to 7% to as high as 35%. And you might think it's the cloud, so you can just move. But, at least according to this group, it wasn't that easy. Each of the major cloud vendors wants you to be highly integrated with their services, and that makes moving not quite as simple as you might think. So today, these few companies are aggressively pursuing market share, but when, not if, but when they dominate the provision of computing services, how competitive will the market be? And it doesn't have to be only cloud providers. The recent changes in VMware licensing show how vulnerable we are to adopting a single technology, and even without an absolute monopoly. Can some companies be too big to care? And then, a week or so ago, I was thinking about this again when I heard a quote from Sam Altman on an interview he did on a popular YouTube interview show. He said this: "Compute will be the new currency." And I thought, yeah, in a world that Altman would envision where AI-driven agents will ultimately do the bulk of what we now call work, where software will be written by AI, where autonomous agents can execute a myriad of tasks, those who own compute resources will be one of the great remaining industries. You can't even run AI without compute. So that's what I was thinking when I came across this story in the Register. The UK's Cabinet Office Central Digital and Data Office is raising concerns over the amount of government IT spending going to AWS. In a new report, the agency warns this level of cloud expenditure risks vendor lock-in. Industry watchers say that being overly dependent on a single cloud vendor can lead to cost escalations, product design constraints, and being forced into unwanted upgrade paths. Years ago, there were concerns about vendor lock-in, and makers of hardware in particular industries like national defense and this led to a no single sourcing policy. Under this approach, systems could not be built using components from only one supplier. If a vendor had a unique technology, they had to license the design to a competitor to create a second source. In one memorable case, IBM, when it launched the 8086 PC, forced Intel to license its chip technology to an upstart firm called AMD. That certainly played a role in the creation of a competitive market where none existed, and the effects lasted for decades. But can this same approach be applied to cloud services? Can companies say they'll use service X only if a viable, compatible Y is available? Rupert Goodwins, in a piece in the Register, argues that even if major cloud providers initially resist, they would comply if it became a widespread government procurement requirement to have options beyond a single vendor. He says creating fully competitive markets is the job of governments, and a policy like second sourcing could rebalance the power dynamic with cloud giants that have become too big to care about customer concerns over lock-in. I'm not sure what my opinion is, but all of this has certainly made me think. That's our show for today. I'd love to hear your opinions, as always. And thanks to the listener who sent me a note about yesterday's story on using carbon capture to make cement more environmentally friendly. Apparently, there is a Canadian company doing the same thing, and you can find them at carbocrete.com. And speaking of Canadian publishing, we're trying to find a new home for the show notes. But if you missed something, for now, just send me a note at therealjimlove@gmail.com. Once we get our new home figured out, we'll let everyone know. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a wonderful Wednesday.